Can anything be a strong B minus? Well, I think Xmen episode 3, Xmen 97 episode 3 is a strong B minus. It's another enjoyable episode, as which I suspect all episodes will be fairly enjoyable, because it's kind of hard to get the X-Men wrong. It starts right where it left off. The previously on X-Men is voiced by Jean Grey this time, so that's a notch against it, instead of the nostalgia of previously on X-Men by Cyclops. It very quickly settles the discussion of which Jean is the clone and which Jean is the original, but it doesn't settle the discussion of when they were actually switched. The only thing we know is that the clone Jean is the one that gave birth to Nathan. So we know the switch probably happened at least before 9 months ago. But it raises the issue of who was actually the Phoenix, who was actually who was the one who actually chose to marry Cyclops. And I like how they ended the episode basically with a question mark of, is Cyclops and Jean still going to be married? I suspect they won't be, but that's just my suspicion. We'll find out next week, I think. One of the reasons I would consider this episode to be a B minus is something just feels off with the animation. It's no longer that it's different, it actually feels subpar in some parts of it, particularly the proportions of Jean and some of the expressions that she makes. That said, there are some cool moments. We see Bishop being charged up by Cyclops. We see another example of what would happen if Jean actually fully used her powers, where she moves the X-Mansion and messes with people's heads, messes with everyone's head simultaneously. We see again the pain and discomfort that Gambit is experiencing with Rogue and Magneto hanging out, quote unquote, hanging out a lot. And it looks like Magneto and Rogue aren't even hiding that there's something going on with all the time that they're choosing to spend alone together. We see the clone of Jean Grey get taken over by Mr. Sinister and kidnaps Nathan. And it looks like, at first I thought Mr. Sinister was going to clone Nathan, so we would have had Cable and Strife right then and there. But in the end, they turned out to make it be more, this is where Nathan gets infected by the techno-organic virus. And this leads to Bishop taking Cable to the future, or at least his future. And it's implied that Forge is going to try and cure him. I do hope they don't change Cable's story, where Cable doesn't grow up in Bishop's future, but Cable's supposed to grow up another 1,000 years further in the future. I think that would be a more interesting way to take the story, which is the way that they had it in the comics. So perhaps Forge tries to cure him, and then Old Man Cable comes back in time and says, well, yeah, but this isn't where I'm supposed to actually grow up, or some other reason. I'm also a bit disappointed that Bishop's going to disappear now, because I guess they wanted to hook people with the teaser that, well, Bishop's going to be here in all these episodes. The episode ends with Forge showing up and claiming that he's going to help out Storm, which is not how I thought her powers were going to come back, but it would be kind of cool if that her powers come back very quickly. I don't want it to be the season finale and Storm just shows up, comes back with lightning. Like, I want her to show up in more episodes. But I feel like I'm rambling, so I'll probably just stop here. A strong B- episode, some enjoyable parts, some things just off with the animation, but I'm gonna keep watching it. I mean, I watched almost every single episode when it first aired, and even the worst episode, which is what I think this is the worst episode so far, has been much better than the average episodes that they had in the old X-Men series. So my expectations are probably just a bit too high, but it's still enjoyable. Alright, have a good day.
Take care, Jean. Call me Madeline Pryor.
Oh, it's another hot one, Dallas, with no relief in sight. Stay hydrated. Looks like this here drought's sticking around.
Shame about the weather. No summer like a Texas summer, but I wouldn't give if someone could just make it rain.
Speak plainly. Who are you?
Name's Forge, Storm. An old friend of Charles Xavier. I'd like to help you get back what you've lost.